This meeting is being recorded.
It's not a meeting. It's us again. Welcome back to the 52-week art challenge. Here, I'm Mama Nef with the fabulous, brilliant, ever beautiful Jaki-Terry, where each week we are talking about new pieces of work created, as well as bits and pieces in large parts of our creative process. So for those of you who have been tracking with us, I'm really grateful. We are grateful. We're so grateful for you joining us as community, albeit virtual. We're feeling you, you know. Thank you for the likes. Thank you for subscribing. Make sure you do that before you leave. Give us a thumbs up, and by all means, leave us some comments. So we're going to shift. We're shifting the conversation a bit. You know, in addition to showing new work produced during the week, new artwork, we talk about process, but we decided to also talk about some central, it's not issues, what is it? It's realities that all of us face. And so for, I don't know how long, I can't say, but this is the beginning of this series on what it means and what it looks like to be sustainable and safe as artists, working artists in these United States of America. What does it mean and what does it look like to be sustainable on every level and safe as artists, working artists in the United States of America? And so each week we will frame our conversation around a particular point of conversation relative to that larger topic, all right? And we're going to start off this week, you know, feeling like this is just some food for thought.
Yeah.
Topic. And first point of this conversation I was sharing with Jackie before we started. For me, it's knowing yourself. I realized for myself to get to this point where I feel totally, absolutely sustainable as an artist, and I feel safe, I had to finally get to know myself. I had to do the work of getting to understand and know who and what I am, and who and what I am in this moment, because it keeps changing and it's evolving, you know. And that meditation, that point of contemplation on yourself, can be informed by your cosmology story, your religious, spiritual beliefs, whatever it is that anchors you in self and helps you to define yourself. All right, can be informed by that. But I think, you know, looking back, just looking back over my life, in the course of my life, and at the point where I really consciously declared myself as an artist. I knew I was an artist. As I've shared before, my father taught me to draw when I was 4 or 5 years old. So I didn't have the word in my head, I am an artist, but I knew that this was a thing, that this visual thing that I did. And then at age 5, 6, when my mother put me in tap dance class, and I fell in love with the stage, particularly and especially backstage where the lights were happening and the ropes and curtains. And I was this little kid and watching all this stuff going on, you know, and I knew I wanted to, that's where I wanted to be. That was a place I wanted to be. And then at age 10, being selected for a citywide creative writing program. And I didn't really, I knew poetry because we were learning it at school, but I didn't know that I was a poet until then, and all that came with that. So I knew myself, these were just ways of expression, and they felt like home, and they felt, those were the places, performing and drawing and making things and writing poetry was where I felt myself, my true, authentic, real, that's where I was most at home. And then to be able to take on that moniker, high school, going into, well, actually before then, because when I was going to private art school, every summer that I was in middle school, we called it junior high school back then.
Back in the day, yeah.
And being in that private art school during the summers, and it was a big, huge studio, and there were artists of all ages. And I realized I was a part of that. Like, oh, yeah, like a thing, like a label, like, oh, I am this. But I really took it on between high school and college, my first stint in college. I realized like, this is what I am. In high school, I went to Towson State University and studied theater. We were the grunts. It was boot camp. It was theater boot camp. It was really, it really was. And so I knew then, like, oh, this is what it means to be an artist. And, so those artist ethics, work ethics, and disciplines, so I knew it then. But what I did not know was myself. I suffered for decades from the disease of insecurity. And I do believe it is a mental illness. I do, because when I track back all of the things that, I didn't do, that I stopped myself from doing, all of the things, I'm not going to unpack all of that now. I know it's a mental illness. And having recovered from the mental illness of insecurity, I know myself now. And I embrace myself. And I'm able to show up now in my life with these gifts and talents that I've been given, and these abilities, knowing that I was born an artist. And I know that, and that nobody can take from me. And so walking with that and knowing that every single day, yeah, that's what sustains me. And to know that those artistic abilities and expressions and demonstrations and all that comes with that, it's a part of how I am not only fulfilling my purpose and mission here on the planet, but how I'm building a legacy and leaving a legacy for my children and my grandchildren and my grandchildren's grandchildren's children's children, right? So that they have a roadmap, and so that makes me very intentional. And it also gives me even more cause to anchor in and just to stay in and develop the practices to keep me sustained in that knowing. In the moment I ever start to second guess myself, I got practices and things in place to bring me back on course, to bring me back in balance. So for me, yeah, know thyself and knowing myself is the foundation for my sustainability, and my sense of safety wherever I go. Yeah. There's a lot more I can say about that, but that's what I'm going to start with. I got a feeling we're going to pick back up on that as you journal through it this week.
You knew last week I went to see Black Violin.
No, I did
not. I went to see Black Violin at the Mesa Arts Center here in Arizona. Phenomenal show. But I remember having a conversation with one of my friends here, and she was asking me what kind of music that we play in the house, and immediately I thought about your poem. My mother gave me music. That poem has always resonated with me, because being a young girl growing up in Cherry Hill, everybody's hi-fi was booming from one end of the block to the other. And for me, it was a hodgepodge of symphonic goings on. My mother loved classical music, and she loved show tunes. So it's not unusual for me to know all the words to South Pacific, all the words to Cinderella, all the words to West Side Story. It's like when it come on, my sister would look at me when I would sing along. It's like, you don't understand. This is the theme of my life. And then that would be the morning, and in the afternoon, Dad would put on the jazz. So there was Thelonious Monk and There was Rashawn Roland Kirk. His favorite was Wes Montgomery. And then
Yeah.
I would come up and bring up the rear with all the Motown, Watt Stacks, Philly International,
Mm-hmm.
so the house resonated with music. My writing came out of my trauma and my need to hone in my mental health as best I knew how as a 6-year-old. And I didn't recognize that was what I was doing, but that was my safe space. My notebook was my safe space. 'Cause I got to say what I wanted to say, how I wanted to say it. There was no construct that I had to adhere by or adhere to. And that was my vent. I didn't recognize that I was a quote unquote poet until I heard Nikki Giovanni. I was 16 by that time. Then I realized, wait a minute, I do that. I don't do it as well as she does, but I do that. So it's like I found my tribe. So through her, I went on this quest to find all the other women writers, all the other Black women writers, from Gwen Brooks to, oh my goodness, who else? Just name them. Whoever came through during that era. And that's been my journey thus far. Did you go away? Hi. Okay.
All right. I am so sorry. When you said that, something just jumped in me and I had to go get something, but keep going. I'll show you why.
Okay. So as I explore myself in this place that I'm sitting in, knowing myself includes knowing when I need to be public with my work, knowing when I need to go inside and just feed me. So I'm kind of like, I actually found a word for me. I'm an introverted extrovert.
Oh, we both are. We both are.
Yes,
I'm
yes.
classic Myers-Briggs, introvert.
Yes, I'm like,
Or
and when I
introvert.
saw the explanation, I'm like, that's me. Because
Maybe
I'm public
that's
when
why
I
we
need to
vibe so much. Because we're both.
Yeah. And which is why when you needed that space or I needed that space, we always knew how to feed each other. And sometimes we recognized we needed the quiet.
Yes.
We needed to be poured into.
We needed to be in a space where we could listen.
Yes.
And hear.
So I'm also finding that my art is very utilitarian.
Yeah.
Not just in my writing, and definitely not in my performance. Performance came so late in my life. I had no idea that at 37.
Wait a minute. Really? When we reconnected, and for those of you who don't know our story, we were best friends in kindergarten. We met in kindergarten 62 years ago, and I'm just feeling something now like I want to 62 years. And then my family moved from Cherry Hill.
Cherry Hill. Yeah, when you were in the second grade.
Enclave in South Baltimore. And then we reconnected again, standing in the middle of Cafe Montage. I think it was 1989.
1993.
93. No, it was before this because I moved to Miami Beach.
You moved to Miami after that. 1993, because we did Conjure Woman that summer.
So wait a minute, it was not 89? Okay.
I didn't move back to Baltimore until 1990.
Okay, you are the one. She has an elephant. I moved back to the woman with the elephant memory. I thought it was 1989. But anyway, and we've been reconnected ever since.
But my first introduction was Michael Berry. I was like 35. And that's when we did Sisters Talking That Talk. Rest in love, Michael. I miss her.
Yes.
And she got a citation from the mayor of Baltimore City at the time, Kurt Schmoke, for International Women's Day for being able to have a conversation about women and domestic violence. That opened up another bridge because I'm like, okay, it's time to unpack that. I also remember telling you my personal story that I won't unpack now, but sitting on top of a hill across the hall, across from the Meyerhoff, when I
Yes.
had those tremendous breakthroughs, it ended up being the beginnings of writing my first one woman show. Girl, I didn't know what I was doing. I just knew there was something inside it that needed expressing. There was something inside that I needed to heal. And my way to get to it was through my paper, was through my notebook.
Mm-hmm. I remember those
Um,
notebooks you had. You had a lot of them too.
yeah, always, just
Yeah.
volumes and volumes and volumes. Composition notebooks, especially. I've gotten a little prettier as I've gotten older.
Oh, I gotta make you one. You know I gotta make you one.
Oh, I'm here for it. But the acting part didn't really come full circle until I'm in my mid. When I actually was approached to actually hit the stage as a legitimate actor in 1994.
Wow.
1994, I was 37. I was about to be 38 years old, and I was like, wow.
Mm-hmm.
And Donald Owens happened to come in the cafe montage, and it's like, I need you to read for a play. Have you ever heard of Ntozake Shanghai? Well, of course I have. I just got finished saying I just had this whole exploration of Black women writers, and Tazaki, come on now, who hadn't seen For Color Girls? So that was my rites of passage, my official professional. It was it was Sister Talking That Talk, then it was Conjure Woman with you.
Mm-hmm.
But actually, time I actually got to hit a big stage on a consistent basis was Arena Players.
Yeah, yeah.
What ended up being my theater home.
Mm-hmm.
It
Mm-hmm.
literally, I was literally everything that I really, really know about theater, I learned there.
Yeah, yeah. That's
You
a good
know,
place to
all
learn.
thanks and praise to University of Wisconsin and Coppin State University, but Amini Courts, Amini Johari Courts, anything and everything I wanted to know about how to rock that stage, she taught me.
Yeah.
And I remember one of the first things I had to learn doing poetry was learning how not to be a poet and learning how to be a storyteller.
Yes. Yes.
Which
Yes.
was a challenge in of itself because everything I heard in lyrics because again, my mother gave me music. So everything I heard, everything was lyrical to me. And it continues to be now, but the lyricism transcends into other things. Uh, like I have a habit when I'm in my kitchen, I cannot cook with shoes on. I never saw my mother do it. It's something about the connecting to the earth and music playing in the background and humming spiritual songs and conjuring meals.
Mm-hmm.
That's it's for me, it's one in the same place. It's a very resting place to go into because in the process of creating meals, I'm also creating new ideas. The notebook is always nearby because gotta write this down.
Yeah.
Oh, this just came up.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's the kind of stuff you can't explain to people because your quote unquote normal friends think you're nuts. But
Yeah.
no, you're not. You're processing. And
Mhm.
because everything is open, when you're in the midst of doing it all, you know, when inspiration comes, you answer.
Yeah, and you answer, and that's when we are in ourselves
Yeah,
and fully available. The thing about knowing
absolutely.
ourselves is like we've designed ourselves, whether it's always a design of having a book near you where you can write things down, or
Hmm.
having a place you can go, or the gazillion and one things that we have unconsciously and consciously designed around ourselves that feed us, that allow us to be ourselves and to anchor into that and to be in those spaces. I'm
Exactly.
thinking about people in general, artists specifically, that have yet to begun to do that.
Mm.
Those
I would
spaces.
invite them to find whatever that thing is that they do. These days, it's taken on a different form. It's learning how to re-educate my body in terms of physical training.
Mm-hmm,
Something I definitely missed, and I didn't realize I missed it until I started re-engaging in it. Getting up in the morning and working out
mm-hmm.
and getting back into my body commands. Okay, now let's go over here and work your voice
Yeah.
because that's part and parcel of that too. and okay, let's go sit in this corner somewhere, meditate, read, and yeah, just
Yeah, those things.
everything in the name of self-care
Yeah.
is part of my safety and my sustainability, and making sure that my environment is a reflection of how I'm feeling.
So important. So important. I told you we spring cleaning. It was some things I just needed to tweak. Where you saw my studio space, we rearranged everything in here. Everything.
You
Now
said,
I just needed to rearrange space that is aligned with what's happening to me as a woman, as an artist. I'm expanding. I needed more space. I am expanding. Something in me is just opening and blossoming. And so doing that, and every single day, get up, going outside here, just connect with being in the world, being awake, being alive, giving thanks for that, and all, okay, I'm alive and I'm on purpose and gratitude and blessings and so forth. And then I come and I journal and I make things people call art. And sometimes it goes a little longer than I would like. Sometimes it may be an hour and a half, 2 hours. Some days it's 2.5 hours. But I know myself enough to know I must do that.
yeah,
I must engage in the thing that creates the foundation for my being here, for my existence, for my work, for what I love, the things I want to do for my ministry. That foundation is imperative. I start there first,
and can I also stress the necessity, the need for getting whatever therapy you need to once and for all unpack whatever trauma you've gone through. I know I'm doing my sister proud with that one, because she was a behavioral health counselor. She had a PhD in behavioral health. So I would be remiss not to get the help I need at such the time as this, my girl. So I'm grateful to her for making that space for me, especially when I was in grad school and all the crazies were going on. As a matter of fact, my word, she would always tell me, it was like she knew when I needed time on the couch, and she would just call, all right, shorty, you need some time on the couch? Yes, please. Yes, please.
I can hear
Yeah.
her. There's a
Yeah.
reason why her picture has been here. As I'm rebuilding this ancestor altar in the midst of all of this spring cleaning and rearranging, there's a reason why your sister's picture has been here.
Yeah, but
Here.
honoring her that way,
Yeah.
by making sure that I take care of me.
Radical, necessary, imperative self-care. That foundation, that's the foundation under the foundation.
Absolutely. So for me, that has been my sustainability lately.
Can you see that? I'm holding it.
Oh my goodness, I used to have that book.
Negro. It's edited by Langston Hughes and Audubon Tenants from 1746, 1949. With my daddy's, wait a minute, let me get it around here because it's in the thing. Oh, come on, thing. Anyway, there it is. Wait a minute, it was a glimpse.
It comes in and out. Yeah, there it is.
Yeah, my father's signature. He gave that to me when I was 10, 11 years old, around the same, it was after, because it was after I went to that creative writing enrichment program for poetry. He gifted me with this. Getting emotional. So this book, as a 10, 11-year-old, and reading this poetry, and it's going back to the 1700s, the poetry of our ancestors. Jesse Redmond Foster, Paul Laurence Dunbar, P.T. Cullen, Jean Toomer, and on and on and on and on and up. There's some Richard Wright in here, of course, Langston Hughes. That was my first connection with a larger understanding and understanding of what it means to be Black outside of my family. And as a 10-year-old, 11-year-old, 12-year-old, you know, I mean, look at the book, you know, the thing.
Girl, that book, yeah, that book done seen some stuff.
Knowing myself and knowing as an artist, I'm so grateful to Langston Hughes and Anna Bontemps and my dad for gifting me this, because it made me realize that I came from something. I'm a part of a story. I came out of an experience. I came out of an expression, and this book has served me and invited me, that other part of knowing not only myself, but inviting me to contemplate, and I've done this for years, and I'm constantly doing, what is my contribution in this story? What is my what is my specific, unique contribution that no one else on the planet, past, present, or future, will bring except me? What is my contribution to humankind? Number one.
Yeah. Or as my constant prayer is, just show me where I fit.
Yes. And then
show me where I fit. And then let your will, not my will, be done.
Exactly. Yeah. In the canon, you know, what is my contribution to this enormous, and not just in poetry, you know, but in film and in theater and in visual art and in dance. All of the mediums, all of the forms. And so, yeah, like knowing that, you know, today I went to the closing of African Village doll exhibit. Sister Kabuki, I think she was one of the major curators, and some other sisters and brothers. And in the midst of all of the spring cleaning, and this is the last day, and I'm like, I gotta get this done, and not giving myself to midnight or I'll turn into a pumpkin. I had to stop and just go and connect in. It's like, okay, all right, yeah. Because a piece of me is in that, and a piece of me is in that, and oh, that color there, and oh, that doll, and oh. Knowing ourselves.
Yeah.
And knowing what drives us, music. I keep saying to Ricardo, okay, after this, I'm working on a doctorate degree in transdisciplinary leadership, creativity, and sustainability. And I intend to be finished by 2024. I may take a little break, but I have one more degree to go. And that's in ethnomusicology, focusing specifically on African-American music of the 50s and 60s, because it was ubiquitous. When we grew up in Cherry Hill, it was
the backdrop of our lives.
You heard it everywhere. You heard it at night, the guys on the street corners coming out of people's houses, coming with the radios on the cars. It was ubiquitous. It was everywhere. And it's in us. It's in my blood. It's a part of my spiritual DNA. It's a part of my real DNA, our music. And so knowing what really drives us, what really anchors us, what excites us, what drives us to have to, I got to write this poem. I just got to write this. Or I got to draw this. Or I got to go see this play. I got to go hear this music. I got to go hear this story. Knowing what it is that puts us in that place.
And nestles us in it.
And nestles us in it, so that we are so connected and we so clear that this is what I do. This is who I am. This is what drives me. This is what's real to me. And having that foundation, I would love for us to create preschool camps for artists, little kids who know themselves.
Girl, can we please? Because baby, if we don't, who gonna do it? They're taking everything out of the schools. So if we're not the keepers of the flame, who's gonna be it?
You know, and just
I really am grateful to my mother, who gave me a library card at 4 years old and warned me, they're going to tell you that you did not have a history before them. And I'm telling you, as your mother, it's a lie. We were
Yeah.
somebody before we came here. So this is your assignment every day.
Yes.
You sit in that class and you let them teach you everything they want you to know, and then you take your butt to the library and find out what we were doing.
Yes. That's what my father.
And I think that was the assignment of every kid growing up in Cherry Hill. That was the assignment of every parent.
Yeah. And the library.
Oh, you had, the library was necessary. And I remember the library when it was on Spelman Road, not where the old Hill Theater up in the shopping center. I remember it was on Spelman Road, and the rec center was right behind it.
Mhm.
So I'm that Cherry Hill.
Yeah, we go back there. I was in Cherry Hill last week. Recently, it's been calling me. One of my daughters by marriage, but daughter nonetheless, volunteers some days out at the animal shelter.
Okay,
And so I got the opportunity because she's from Colombia, South America.
got you.
And so I got the opportunity, Jackie, to drive her around
Mhm.
Cherry Hill and to show her where the family lived, but show her some of our landmarks.
Yes, ma'am.
Grandmother's house was right
Your old
on.
house on the 800 block of Bethune Road is still there.
Yes.
Yes.
You know, where the Murphys lived across the street from my grandmother, and
Yes, ma'am.
just
Yes,
where the
ma'am.
pool is, and that crest right there at the top of the hill where you can see straight down to the harbor and just
Mm-hmm.
tell those stories.
Before the hospital was there.
Yeah, before way
Way.
where you could smell the salt water. You could smell
Yes,
the
you could.
crabs calling you from.
And on a good day, you could smell the spices from McCormick.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, another
Yeah.
story. Whole nother story. So artists.
But that's what it does for you. It brings that recall back of that time when everything was safe. And because you recognize it, it's those things that make you sustain that order in your life
Mhm,
as an artist. And for me, as an artist / activist,
mhm.
it's necessary to be able to come home and recharge
Yes. And
and refuel and connect with people who understand what it is that you do and why.
and to have these conversations, because there's some conversations I am so convinced only we can have amongst ourselves, because people don't know what we're talking.
They ain't got a clue. Ain't got a clue. And it's all right.
And it's okay because we have
It's okay.
this.
I ain't mad at you, baby. Everybody don't get us. It's all right.
So yeah, we're inviting you all, those of you who are listening, just take some time and really spend some time with that. How knowing yourself sustains you from the inside out as an artist.
Absolutely.
To claim that, to be that, to express that. Yeah, it's worth really taking some time to unpack that. Knowing who you are and all of the things that inform who you are. Parents, my mother did. She did give me music. To this day, I asked my aunt before she passed, my aunt Loretta Johnson Ellaby, Loretta Dolores Johnson Ellaby, born 1941. She transitioned in 2022. Yeah, her birthday was the 19th. And so thinking before she passed, I was asking her, how did you and mommy sneak me in the Royal Theater all them times? How y'all do that? Yeah.
Girl, I did good to drive through Pennsylvania Avenue. Okay. And you hanging up in the Royal?
Yeah, my mother, she really did. My mother gave me music. Our mothers gave us so much, but they seeded us. You know, your mother
They
seeded
did.
you with the imperative to know who you are and to know the truth about who you are and what you come from.
Had to.
So I'm
She
inviting
that she saw the necessity to do that.
yes.
You know, and knowing that she was the launching pad for whatever I was to become. So to her end, for all her the things that she did not know how to do, I salute her, celebrate her, and honor her for everything that she did, because she didn't come what she knew she didn't come short with.
Mm-hmm.
And because of that, I stand with dignity on those shoulders. I really do. And I honor her immensely for giving me the tools that I need to be sitting here.
Yeah. So yeah, you all think about that too. Parents, caregivers, those people.
Who show up in your lives.
Yeah, and to had hands and fingers and toes and arms and legs and hearts into, I won't say molding you, because I have a whole conversation about that, but just had a hand in growing you into who you are.
They watered you. They nurtured you.
Yeah. So meditate on that, and we will be back next week, continuing this really, really, really important conversation. In the meantime, oh, let me go here. Let me talk about this very quickly. My piece for this week. So this piece, I created this piece actually in December. I was dealing with some trauma, emotional trauma around things that were happening in my life at the time, and was actually staying with a friend. My husband and I were staying with a friend, and I had to leave our home for safety purposes, my husband and I. And so in the sudden having to leave, I just grabbed some art stuff because I mean, if I'm going to the moon, I'm going to grab some art stuff. It's the last thing I do. Grab the purse and grab some pens or something, grab some art things, and created this piece out of that moment. It started with some circles, and then I tried to singe them, and the circles, that paper was vellum, so it caught on fire very quickly, and I'm trying to put but then I looked at it and let go of the perfectionist in me, and it's like, whoa, look at this. She's just, and it's like, you know what? We're all a little burnt around the edges from and life's pains. And then the next day, I enlisted my husband in going with me to find these little teardrops. And new teardrops. It had to be this balance of the fire element and the water. So I found these little crystal teardrops, and then I found some copper, and I started braiding the copper because copper is an energy conductor, and holding these tears. And it's like, oh, we're all a little burnt around the edges from life's traumas and pain, watered by our collective tears of radiant light. Her tears hold so much light and grief and trauma and hope and healing. So I created this out of that moment. That's not the little thing that I want. Oh, these trees. It went all the way there. Dang, come on, go back, go back. Wah.
She said, where?
Yeah. One of those little YouTubey things. But anyway, so it started there, and I'm just going to go back here very, very quickly. And that piece, I submitted it to Passenger for their special edition on the theme of generational trauma, edited by the fabulous Christine Lincoln. And that piece that you saw emerged into this piece, which is now the cover of that special edition of Passenger. So it's reimagined. It's a reimagined piece. I didn't reimagine it. The graphic designer for Passenger did, and it's okay, because sometimes we make things and other people get a hold of them and they reimagine them, and that's good. But I wanted to share it with you because today was the launch of the reading of this special edition. But also just in terms of the knowing thyself, part of that too is trusting yourself. What I know about being an artist is that once I share it, it's living out in the world. And I'm sharing it with the world, and to trust that it's just going to do what it do and have meaning in people's lives. And I don't have to own it. I don't have to, my story about how it came to be is my story, but when people see it, they see it for what it is. And it's a part of it is just like a conversation that people you get to engage people in without ownership, without dictating what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. And knowing myself enough to know that all I got to do is be true to the work. Just to be true to the work. Unattached to where it's going to sell, blah, 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 blah. Just to be true to the work in that moment of creating, of giving, of bringing forth, just to be true to it. And it will do its right and perfect work. I heard Viola Day say something last week when I was watching her in an interview. She was talking about taking risks and the necessity of taking risks.
Mm-hmm. I saw that interview.
Letting go of the point when the script goes to everything and you just dive in, you take that risk because there's something else at stake that's bigger than just you.
What's written, yeah.
And what's written and all, and it's like you're bringing forth something. And I've seen it consistently with dancers, with actors, with visual artists, with filmmakers, with musicians, with singers, with literary artists, where you just go there. But to go there, you got to trust yourself. And to trust yourself, you got to know yourself.
That's it.
You got to know
And
something about
even
yourself.
if you're afraid, and even if you are afraid, you jump in anyway because you know something on the other side is going to hold you.
And you give it up and you release
it. Yeah.
Okay. So that's the share. This is is this week 10? This is week 10. Oh my goodness, of the 52-week art challenge. Thank you all for showing up. Thank you all for being here. And those of you coming back and those of you who are new, welcome, welcome. We hope you enjoyed and got something out of this conversation. If you have, and if you are an artist, and especially if you know artists, invite them to please come and check out this channel, especially as we go forward and take deeper dives into what it means to be sustainable at every level and safe as artists in the United States. Give us a thumbs up, please. That does something with the algorithms. I am an artist. I'm not a mathematician. All I know is that when people do the thumbs up, something happens with the algorithms and it's good. So do that. Please subscribe, come back, leave us a comment. Take care of yourselves. Thank you so much, Jackie.
Thank you.
All right. Peace out.